Hi there and welcome to Magic. This video assumes that you have Magic up running and that you have a valid MySQL database server and that you have modified its appsettings.json file to point towards your MySQL database. You can see how to accomplish this in other videos. In this video we are going to create a generic authentication and authorization backend, allowing you to arguably provide a single sign-on website providing authentication and authorization for all of your web apps. First click Files, then open up the MISC folder, then click the magic_auth.sql. This is an SQL script that creates an authentication and authorization database for you with 3 tables. Click Evaluate and you now have a database. And in fact you can verify it by clicking the SQL menu item here, choosing to use magic_auth and then choosing all items from roles. Here you can see it's inserted 3 default roles, guest, user and root. However, it has not inserted any users. So if you try to select everything from users, you will not get a result. So let's create a user. And we do that by going back to Files, opening up MISC again, and then clicking the Create User Hyperlambda scripts. Here you can replace the username argument with whatever username you want to use. I'm going to use admin. Then I'm going to use the password foo_bar. Then I'm going to remove the user at line 20 here, underneath the roles here, because I only want my user to belong to one role, and that is the root role. Don't save the file, just click Evaluate immediately. If we now go back to the SQL pane here and we choose to use magic_auth, and we select all from users, you will see that we now have 1 entry here. And the password is cryptographically secured using a blowfish hashing algorithm with a per user based salt. So it should be highly secure for the record. Now we want to go to Files, MISC, and then we want to choose authenticate.hl. We're just simply going to copy all the content from this file onto our clipboard. Copy, and then we're going to go up 1 level, then we're going to choose Modules, then we're going to choose System, then we're going to open up magic.startup, and then we're going to open up the magic.authenticate.hl file. Just take all the content in this file and simply delete it, and then paste in whatever you now have on your clipboard. This replaces the dummy authentication system in Magic with your now authentication database. Then you can click Save, and then you can click Evaluate. And hopefully, a little bit of a warning, at this point you remember your username and your password. Otherwise you're going to have to start all over again. If you now log out, and then log in with admin and foo_bar, which was my username and password combination. Then I'm successfully being logged in, and I can verify that by seeing that I have access to the entirety of the system. If I wasn't successfully logged in, I wouldn't be able to do any of the things I've done now for the last 5 seconds. Now we want to allow for creating new users and associate them with roles over HTTP REST CRUD endpoints. Well, that happens to be very easy. Just click CRUDify and then choose magic_auth and then choose roles. Now roles we might not necessarily want to be able to create or update or delete, but maybe we want to read all the roles in the system. Okay, then just make sure only this checkbox is checked off. Click CRUDify. And we now can go to Evaluator or Endpoints. And we can see that we now have 1 CRUD endpoint. for reading all roles. It requires the user to access this endpoint to belong to the role of root himself. And here we have all of our 3 roles returned as JSON. And I can immediately start creating my Angular HTTP service layer based around this HTTP endpoint if I wanted to. So, however, that is an exercise for later. Then we might want to go to Crudify, and we might change maybe we are interested in being able to create and read and update and delete new users. Well, simply click Crudify. And if we now go back to endpoints, we have 5 endpoints. Now we have one little problem though. We have a couple of problems. The first problem is that our get endpoint also returns the password. Whoops, that was the wrong one. Users gets. So you can see here our get HTTP endpoint also returns our password. It doesn't really matter that much because the password is cryptographically hashed using a blowfish algorithm. But we still might want to remove the password. Okay? Then you can click Files, you can click Modules, you can click magic_auth, you can click users get.hl and simply remove the password here underneath the columns declaration here. Save the file, go back to your endpoints, choose users gets, remove the arguments, and as you can now see, it does no longer return the password. Then we have another problem, which is that when we are creating a new user, which we do using posts, the password we are providing here will not be cryptographically hashed, meaning our authenticate invocation will not work because it's expecting a cryptographically hashed password in the database. So let me illustrate that by selecting all users here. And actually, let me illustrate it from here. And show you that this isn't the password. It's a cryptographically hashed version of the password. So whenever we are creating a new user, we need to make sure that our endpoint is doing the same thing. We can do that easily by clicking Files, clicking Modules, clicking magic auth, and then we can do users.post.hl. This is the endpoint that is invoked as we are creating a new user. Then underneath the auth.verify ticket here, you can type password and then click Control space, and now we want to hash a password. So the name of the signal we are going to, the slot we are going to signal is called crypto.password.hash. Then :x: alpha dot arguments **password. Make sure you type this exactly as I did. This is a lambda expression allowing us to reference parts of our lambda arguments. Then, as we are adding our arguments here at line 8, we are adding it into the values here, and we are taking it from all arguments. We no longer want to do that. We want to add a slash at the end, and then we want to only add username. And then we want to type unwrap :x: plus ** values all *password. And then we want to type a tab inside of values here, type password :x: alpha, then the name of our signal invocation here. Now, In the description of this YouTube video, there's going to be a link to my blog that displays this code for you from where you can copy and paste it, because I realize it's fairly complex. If you have done everything correctly now, this should work. Let's try to save it. Let's go to our endpoints and let's try to post a new user. Username, admin2, password, foobar2. Evaluate. Okay, so now let's go to our SQL pane. Let's choose to use magic_auth. Then select all from users. Hopefully it will be cryptographically patched here also for our admin2 user. And it was. Now we need the ability to associate a user after having created with one or multiple roles. This is actually being done. If you click Codify and you select Magic Auth and then you select roles_users here. This is the relationship between a role and a user, or multiple roles and one user. So we need the ability to do this too. Well, maybe we only want to have the ability to delete and create for this particular table. Okay, Codify. We can now go to endpoints. We can choose roles_user, and I happen to remember that the user ID was 5. However, I don't really entirely remember what the role I wanted to add the user to was. So I'm going to open a new tab here. Magic_auth. Roles. Now I want the ID of some role. Okay, let's do role ID 2. Role ID 2. Evaluate. And now I can select here from users. See, my admin2 user is ID 5. Then I can select from roles_users, and I can see that I have an association between the user ID 5 and role ID 2. So let's now try to go home, click logout and log in with admin2, foobar2, and hopefully this will work. And it did. And we now have a generic HTTP REST backend which could serve for our organization as a single sign-on HTTP REST API for all of our authorization and authentication requirements. And it's extremely secure. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.